Tonight, does the brain have a mind of its own, making us do and say things we know we shouldn't, causing us to eat and drink too much or stay in abusive relationships? Can we rewire all of that, or is the brain more powerful than any drug or therapy? Next on Larry King Live. Bad behavior, is it all in our heads? We'll talk about it with Dr. George Pratt, noted clinical psychologist, author too of Code to Joy, a body-mind approach to calmer, happier, more successful you. First, say to exercise. Can you exercise your brain?
Yes, you can. The first thing to do would be, besides taking good care of yourself physically and proper supplementation, would be to use it, do various strategies to strengthen certain neuronal connections, and also to remove and release trauma, stress, and those elements that are interfering with your quality of life. Because
the practical exercises you can do.
Actually, there are. Actually, when there's an exciting new development in energy psychology, which is using the body's energy system, actually the acupuncture system, to help create some changes in the feeling state, and that also have an effect at the brain. But the nice thing is some of these little simple techniques can be learned and practiced in 5 minutes.
So would the brain tell me to overeat?
Sometimes it does. If people have damage to certain parts of the brain, you can have faulty signals. We were just discussing a case of a woman that was 490 pounds and then had a lap band, and she was 280, and she couldn't move lower on the scale with that, so they experimented with deep brain stimulation and running wires to certain parts of the brain to help her to feel a lack of craving, feeling satiation. It shows some promise, but I'd like, as a clinical psychologist, I think, what are the circumstances besides the physiology that are going on that can be affected?
Back to the basics. Doesn't that defy, Dr. Pratt, the thought that when you're 4 years old, you know everything about yourself, then you're not going to change?
Yes, well, when we're 4, actually, when we're talking about willpower or won't power, we have a conscious and we have a subconscious mind. If we didn't, and it's also called it's called different things. Freud called it the unconscious, Jenny called it the subconscious. What happens is it's busy doing things for us all the time that we're not taking conscious awareness of, because if we did, we'd be overloaded with all the things that are on our minds. Cellular reactions, movement of my arm as I'm speaking. If you think of when you write a check, and you write the first letter, the rest of your name is automatic. When you're walking, it's automatic unless you're climbing very special stairs. So this is busy doing this all day long, but sometimes you can't get from the subconscious to the conscious mind. We have cognitive therapy as a psychologist. We're all taught, change how you think, change how you feel. Well, that goes so far because you cannot think your way out of some of these things. It is not connected. So you have to use tools to utilize the subconscious, which is very exciting. The number of neurons firing per second at the conscious level, estimated 40. At the subconscious, neuron firing per second, 40 million.
This may sound stupid, Dr. Pratt. What makes one person smarter than another?
That's an interesting question. I would say what makes one person smarter than another is their ability to adapt and to accept and to determine the course to go with, which requires a clear brain. To maximally use IQ, you have to be in a certain state where you can perform. We also have something called EQ, emotional quotient, which is in some ways even more important than IQ because it's your ability to maximize your intelligence as you relate to others and get things accomplished.
What does depression do to the brain, or does the brain cause the depression?
Well, depression is the effect of various factors. What's happening both within a person and in their brain, obviously, and also usually in their environment. Depression occurs, it has an effect on every aspect of a person's life. We all know the standard phenomena: sleep disruption, appetite disruption, concentration problems, difficulty maintaining relationships, and that creates a huge problem for individuals and then families. So my job as a clinical psychologist is to help use cognitive and these energy and hypnosis and EMDR tools to go back, find out what the problems are, and if you can get them and go back to grief or trauma, and you can clear those traumas, you can create a huge effect in a
Hypnosis
short.
can work.
Absolutely.
And we see it in the brain.
I don't know if this was true. I think I read somewhere that Einstein had 14% memory. His brain retained 14%, which made him a genius. Wouldn't you go nuts, Dr. Pratt, if you had 20% memory?
Probably would be overloaded. We'd
Yeah.
have to be doing a lot of stress management. We just melt our circuits.
Well, isn't
But
that genius, though?
Genius is made up of so many different elements, but again, to be optimally functioning, you want to be able to utilize all the tools that you have, and that means making sure that you are taking proper care of yourself, your mental, your hard drive is clear, and again, trauma is so powerful in affecting and disrupting memory, and most people have a lot of untreated and even unrecognized trauma. And at UCLA, they have recently determined that if you have one trauma, there's a permanent, unless you take it out, 20% elevation in the inflammation of cytokines in our body, and that leads to illness. So if you have untreated trauma, you definitely want to get it treated.
12 years ago, I got into an accident in the snow. I don't drive in the snow anymore. I'm a terrified passenger if it's snowing. I become paralyzed. I cry. I know it's irrational.
One thing about this case, PTSD can create all of those symptoms, as well as triggering panic attacks. And you have one trial learning when you're in a situation that's highly negative and you imprint on that, and then you have a problem driving in snow because you have an association.
How do you get rid of it?
The desensitization methods, it's actually quite easy to get rid of. Scans with people with PTSD, you can see the prefrontal cortex inactive and the limbic system is overdriven, so we can see direct correlations of what these methods can do to desensitize people. These people can be healed.
We'll be back with our remaining moments. Don't go away. The heart does command us, doesn't it? The heart wins.
The body.
The brain tells the heart what
the
to
brain
do.
wins.
And we want the brain, and the heart
wins.
working together.
The heart has to work or the brain doesn't
But
get
if you're in
fed.
a malfunctioning relationship, the heart isn't creating.
No, you're right, Larry. I agree. I know what you're saying. We're all into our terminologies here. The fact is, what you're saying is, when we have a deep drive and a desire to be with somebody, that's what we're going
I
to do.
can't talk you out of love, can I?
No.
I love you
No.
with all my brain. Saying
I
I
love
love
you
you
with
with
all
all
my
my
brain.
heart doesn't work from a neuroscience
Can you talk
perspective.
someone out of a relationship?
Not using the literal mind. And so if someone is suffering from love, pain, or anguish, these methods work.
What fascinates you the most about the brain?
Neuroplasticity, how the brain can change and rewire itself. Dr. Ramachandran, who I'd done some research with, he had amputees with phantom limb pain. They had been taking lots of medication. He developed a mirror.
Yeah.
He would insert one hand, the intact arm. The person would see the other arm is intact, and rewired the brain within minutes. I love neuroplasticity.
AC 360 starts right now.